we've got a lot to cover. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Lori. Um, just give me 1 minute while I share my screen. And if you have not met Lisa Carmen, she is one of our resume writers. She is unbelievable. We're welcoming her as well. Um, 1 second.
Thanks so much, Shelley. It's so
You
kind
are
of you to
welcome.
even mention me. Thank you.
Yes. Well, Lisa and I have done a ton of work together, and she is kind of like our resume guru. And I welcome you to chat with Lisa separately as well. Can you all see my screen now?
Not yet. It says you're starting screen sharing, but we don't see it yet. There we go. Got it.
Okay, you can now see my application. First of all, this is a crazy shot of me. Don't love this picture, but hey, it got your attention, so that's okay. It's all good. Today, we're going to look at interview blind spots, and this is an area where so many people struggle. You've got things that are going on mentally, emotionally. Am I the right one? Am I not the right one? Um, just a quick intro again. 6 years ago, I walked out of corporate. I was the head of talent acquisition at Comcast, and I just felt like my soul was being sucked out of my body by all these institutions, and I felt like a corporate refugee. And so I started my own business and I have not looked back. I offer executive and leadership coaching. Some of my clients are actually on this call. And I do recruitment as well. I have a fractional and exclusive retained. I recently have placed the head of sales at a trades company in Florida, the head of sales for a space company. And right now, my team and I are working on a controller for a fintech company. And I'm about to open up three trade roles in Florida. And then again, three other roles: AI engineer, technical program manager, product marketing manager, and a DevOps position. So people are hiring. I am seeing many of my clients get interviews and land new roles. And be telling you some stories around that as well. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And Adrienne is my awesome assistant. She'll be giving you my LinkedIn to connect with me. I did a post recently and I was remembering that one of the CEOs I worked with, I was the head of talent for Sonora Quest Labs, which is a joint venture between Banner Health and Quest Diagnostics. Um, and I ran talent for them for 8 years. Their CEO, Dave Dexter, called me the Mariano Rivera of interviewing. Now, if anybody knows baseball, and I'm not a huge baseball fan, but this was one of the biggest compliments of my career. Mariano is the works for the or was the main pitcher for the New York Yankees. And he was brought in when the stakes were high. He's the closer. In fact, he wrote a book called The Closer. So interviewing is one of my specialties. I help leaders see the situation more clearly. And I'm kind of like a interview intuitive where if I'm missing something or if I hear the candidate's missing something, I'm going to dig deeper. I'm going to help bring out what might be missing. So from 2008 through 2016, I worked for the CEO of Quest Diagnostics and Banner Health, Sonora Quest, and he did not make a hiring decision at the C-suite level without me. So my hope is that some of that baseball or Mariano comes out today and that you can learn something when your stakes are the highest, because this is what I call a plug and play job market. There's two people, they have the same background. Everything you're talking about and signaling in that interview is all about how you solve problems and show your impact in those interviews. If you haven't met Adrienne, she is my assistant. She supports me with marketing and social media. and recruitment. She's got 10 years of recruitment. And I recently did a group where 6 people joined. Adrienne joined, and Adrienne actually got 3 offers in one day. And she is now working. She's still working for me part time, but I'm going to be making an offering at the end for some group coaching. I can honestly say with her on the line that every single one of those 6 people have either increased their interviews or landed new jobs. One landed a 2-year contract at USAA. Adrienne landed 3 offers in one day, and she's been looking for a while, right? We have Anna who has increased her interviews. And so I just want to let you know that no matter what you do today, take screenshots, meet with people that are here. This is a community and we welcome you. We do a lot of work in groups and in community, and really want to allow you to, again, take screenshots, use your camera, take notes, put some time with me afterward to go over what might be missing and how you are signaling to the market what your specialty is, where you might be leaking trust. Because at the end of the day, this is all about you're going to get hired when people know, trust, and like you. Think about that from a marketing perspective. What restaurants do you go to? You go to restaurants that you know, that you like, and that you trust there's going to be high quality, right? So the same thing is how you go into your interviews. It's all about your stories, your impact. And so today, my hope is that you'll walk away with what are some of the insights that might be quietly eliminating you as a strong candidate, get more strong or stronger, sharper, more confident answers. And we're going to give you 4 pages of interview questions that you need to be prepared to answer. And we're going to give you snapshots of exactly how you make more impact. As I was thinking about today, I really want to allow for time at the end to answer a lot of questions. This isn't working, or why isn't this happening in the right way? So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you some education today. We're going to do a poll, and then toward the end, maybe allow for 20 minutes of actual hot seat coaching, some interviewing, things like that. Sound good? Do I have everybody's attention? And are we all on the same page? Okay, awesome. If I didn't say hi to you personally, welcome, Lori and Chris. It's really nice to see you. Hi, Tracy. Um, I can tell you a lot of people on this call are getting interviews. It's just about how you land. Okay. Now, this next piece is something that I'm borrowing from a really good friend of mine. And I'd love for you to take a screenshot. As a recruiter who hires people consistently, we want to know, have you solved this problem before? Your hiring managers are looking for, do you understand my world? Are you someone who I can plug in and have immediate results in how you create value? Now, the word creating value, please borrow that at any time for your interviews. I create value by. It should be part of your narrative or your tell me about yourself story about how you can create value. And really, the interview is not about you. It's about how you create value or how you solve the problem. They're going to want to know your background, but in order for you to be, and some of you who've worked with me might laugh when I say this, psychologically relevant, that's another thing that we talk a lot about, is how are you psychologically relevant to understanding the hiring manager's world, and have you solved those problems before? Can you operate at this level? Do you have the executive presence? Do you have a very confident narrative that is clear and concise and answers question? That goes to number 4. Can you explain your value clearly? Because just like those restaurants that you know, love, and trust, or those brands like Costco or Coca-Cola or, whoever, they explain their value clearly. Your gym that you go work out at, your job is to clearly explain and make sure that the you are the safest answer to their problems. Does choosing you feel safe? Can you get along with everyone? Are you honest? Can you be human and not robotic in an interview and recognize what might be one of your biggest professional failures? That might be a question that you answer. And you better have an answer to that because I can't even tell you. I have totally foobarred that one before, and it was one of the best learning experiences. And then why you over others? What is it about you, about being a talent architect and an HRBP, or being a channel partner leader, or being a financial CPA that might be the answer to their question? Now, what some of you might be doing is trying to be everything to everyone, and you're wasting your time. The more focused you can be, the broader range you're going to have. Okay. And that's hard because my signal is I'm an executive recruiter and I'm an executive coach. So that confuses people sometimes. Or they get it. They're like, that is so cool that you can put on both hats, but it doesn't signal I just do coaching, right? So I totally understand. And so please take a screenshot of this. How many of you, and I'd love to see some input in the chat, where's the biggest area of opportunity for you right now in these six areas of where you think you might be leaking power? I'm checking the chat. Yeah, what is your value? Explaining your value. Four, how do you clearly explain? Okay, thank you, Corey. Thank you, Jean. Three, can you operate at this level? Okay, we're going to be talking about lots of those things. And when I work with people, my clients, we really plug in to building confidence within all of these areas. Thank you so much, Marla. Three and four, operate at this level. Wonderful. Nicoletta, thank you. Number five. Okay. Does choosing you feel safe? You know, the hardest part of this is for you to go in and have the mental fitness to know that you are the best choice, to know that in this market, you have to show curiosity. Please use these words. I'm curious to learn more. I'd like to explore these things with you. Those words and positive wisdom words help you create safety and relevance within the conversation. Okay. Does this happen to you? You forget your stories. You're ruminating on your self-worth, or every move carries weight and pressure. I'd love to hear some feedback in the chat on this. How do I remember my stories? How do I practice my stories? They asked me a question I wasn't prepared. It's okay to pause in interviews, but is this resonating with anyone? Oops, sorry. Okay. I'd like for Adrian to do a poll right now. Where do you get lost in your interviews? Where are you losing that signal? Because rarely is it about your capability. You are capable. You've proven yourself and you've rented your title and your brand until you got laid off. That's strong. I just did a post yesterday about we didn't wake up today wanting to be laid off. No one wakes up thinking, oh, please lay me off, take part of my identity and take my financial piece, right? No one wakes up thinking that. So, at what stage do you often get most eliminated? Recruiter screen, after hiring manager interview? Okay. So we have a variety of this. How many of you have been the bridesmaid or the groomsman? Second runner, the silver candidate, the second runner up, I work with a lot of people who have been in that situation and they just feel like, what am I doing? Am I signaling? You're getting interviews, you're advancing through rounds, but you might be losing at that final stage. What's really interesting here, and thank you for 84% 84% participation. That's awesome. After the hiring manager interview seems to be one of the biggest ones, and then or in the final round. Now, why at those two stages do you feel like you're losing the interview? Did you ruminate too much? Did you go on and on and on and not answer their question specifically? Did you get in your own way by thinking, oh my God, I just totally lost this interview? Whatever it might be. Thanks for taking part in that poll. All right, wonderful. So hiring decisions at the executive level are around four pillars. What is your confidence in the impact that you've had? What is your confidence with the fit with the leadership team? And let's be honest, sometimes it's not going to be a fit. And if you know that in your gut, you're doing yourself much more of a disservice by continuing and trying to fit into what you think they want when you know that it's not you. So I invite you to listen to your wisdom and not be run by the fear of future events appearing real or F everything and run. Two definitions of fear, right? If you don't fit in, that's okay because there's somewhere where you will fit in. Confidence in your decision making authority. So we're going to give you lists of questions around decision making and then your narrative quality. This narrative part is so important. I work for one of the top outplacement companies as a consultant, and I have four clients with them right now. We work for 3.5 hours on just the narrative. This part is so important because it's kind of like under 200 words, around 160 to 180 words of who are you at the macro level. I'm an executive recruiter and leadership coach who has helped over 300 individuals earn over $10 million in promotions and advancements. I've also placed over 1,000 people throughout my career and I've interviewed thousands of people. All right. I'm known for my inclusivity, my giving back to the community. So, etc. Right? It's all about your narrative. And we'd be more than happy to provide you a framework for your narrative as well as part of the email that goes out. So, what's the first word in all of these four things? Confidence. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. People are going to know if you're scared or fearful. How many of you lack the confidence in interviews? I'd love to see some comments in the chat. I'm just checking the chat right now. Your gut is never wrong. So should we memorize the narrative or just know it so well that you can't get it wrong? I have my clients practice the narrative for 10 minutes every day in the mirror to talk with their comfort zone, their circle of this is who you are. This is what you're comfortable with. That's why we take 3.5 hours to just talk about your narrative because your narrative is your executive summary on your resume. Your narrative is the about you section on LinkedIn, but it's much more personal. And there's also some AI prompts that once we get to that narrative, one of my clients, and I'm not sure if he's on today, just had a call with the CIO of 3M. And that CIO in 20 minutes gave him, he's like, I don't have anything on my team right now, but this person, they work together at a major laboratory, right? The CIO is on several boards. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to keep you in mind. And two companies that you need to meet with that are providing solutions right now are this company and this company. So what happened after that? He got in touch with those companies and now he's interviewing and having audience with those companies, right? That's what you want to have confidence in your informational interviews and in your conversations with hiring leaders. Adrienne's saying that that was her biggest hurdle. She got her interviews, but struggled to explain the experience. Okay. So, confidence of impact. You have to know how you created value, confidence, and going back to those 6 areas, what's the confidence in the fit with the leadership team? Do some recognizance of that on the people that you're meeting with. The more research that you can do, I'm not saying be a stalker. I'm saying, do you know, are they a foodie? How do you relate to them as a human? Decision making authority and then narrative. These are things that lead to the interview. So what I usually see is you know your story, but the room doesn't, right? So common problems that I'm coaching constantly on are you're rambling too much. You know, in 3 to 5 minutes, if you have lost that person. Now, most of you are probably experts at the STAR methodology or CAR, meaning situation, task, action, and result. We're still going to use those types of methodologies and frameworks. But where I'm going to notice is what was the outcome of that? What did you learn from that? Or you give way too much history in the beginning and your impact is buried within all these details. How many of you can relate to this and maybe have a blind spot here? So a weak answer here is I oversaw several initiatives. And as a recruiter, I'm like, so what? What were they? Instead of that, I want you to start thinking about bringing in more of the impact from the outcome into your situation. You know what? I was brought in to stabilize revenue, and within 3 months, we increased revenue by 30%. Here's how I did that. And then I increased manager satisfaction. So, what I'm saying here is don't wait till the end to pepper in the outcomes and the accomplishments. Does that make sense to everyone? Great approach. Are we just reiterating our resume then? No. Your resume does need, Christiane, you do need to know your resume. In fact, that's where a lot of people get flubbed up because they're using AI. And if your resume is done by AI, please don't do that. Um, Lisa can talk all day and has done lots of things. You are reiterating parts of your resume, but you're talking about the impact that you've had, what you did specifically. And I mean, if I'm looking at a resume, I'm going to look at selected accomplishment. Tell me more about this bullet point. You have to know your story in that. Great questions. All right, thank you. The number 2 blind spot is, are you strategic versus operational? If you're too operational, think about from a senior leader perspective, how that diminishes your power and that confidence. Instead of what you did, it's about what did you decide? What did you change? How did you create value? How did you, what have you driven? Many of my clients in that first paragraph of their narrative, I have driven operational efficiencies outcomes of $30 million, right? We want to know early on that you're human, that you have brought results, that you can make right decisions, and that you can fit in. So if you sound too operational, you're actually losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars because you're losing out on that high level of strategy. I'm working with the head of HR right now from a Michigan-based automotive company. And this is where we are focusing right now. He has led high level regions in Asia and Mexico. And I am trying to pull out of him, what have you done that's strategic? Because he's interviewing for VP level, right? So get to know if you're too operational. The third blind spot is this confidence gap. Sometimes candidates unintentionally are signaling uncertainty. And I think more than one of you might be signaling this because you're over explaining, you're hedging language. Every year, I purposely go out to market and see if I'm still marketable. This year, I did an interview to be the head of talent for a very large space and aerospace company. And I had my final interview with the CEO, who was about 25 years younger than me. And I felt like I lost him. So I stopped the interview and I said, I just want to reiterate and make sure that I'm meeting your need. Does this meet what you're looking for? And if it doesn't, let's talk about what will. And I didn't get the job. I don't know I would have taken it anyway, but what are you doing to create moments where, you know what, I'm taking back my authority by honoring, you know what, that answer wasn't the best. Instead of just continuing because you lose that confidence, take it back. He said that was really good move. And so now I might be doing some consulting for that business. So I led the decision too. So I hope that we're getting some aha moments here. I'm going back to the chat. Um, thank you. What level of operations are you leading a team? Thank you, Lisa. All right. So how are we doing on time? Any questions that we have so far?
We're halfway through.
Yeah, we're about halfway through. Okay. I'm going to show you the next 7 slides are really all about how to take back your ownership. It goes back to those confidence pillars and it goes back to those 6 things that we started from, right? From the activity, I led, I managed, I oversaw. I still want you to use those STAR methodologies or CAR or SOAR, or I hope you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go through some of those, right? Lead more with outcomes so that that psychological relevance. Now, this is a change. And this is how I've been talking with other recruiters around people are leaking their power because I don't know what they've done. Yes, the situation was this, and we increased revenue. The things that I did were I made that decision. I had to increase power. I led the decision. I drove. I am known for. So, is this verbiage starting to help and meld into kind of how to make small and micro pivots? I see a couple people. Yes, no. Okay. Um, and I know it's different. It's a different way to think about it. Um, the strategy, that HR leader that I'm talking about, he had led major international and global strategies, but he was leaking his power and diminishing his authority by not bringing in more of the results earlier. So I've been working with him for 3 weeks now, and we've gotten him several informational interviews. And he's starting to come to our one-on-one sessions, and he's like, I'm starting to feel better about my confidence in these 4 different areas. So, really understanding your signaling and how the market is looking at you. This is something that we're doing that's brand new as well. It's kind of, I'm using some AI that a friend of mine and I built after lots of leverage, lots of experience doing this. The key decision was I'm here over on detail. We chose X over Y because. So everything that you're learning, just put more of your impact in it, more of your what you specifically did strategically. They don't want to hear just an operator. They want to hear that as a CFO or as a program manager from nonprofit. I think I'm remembering that correctly, Corey. Is that right? Project manager? Okay. Um, the key decision was so take screenshots here, guys. This is what we need to practice. The next one is all about leadership. I collaborated with, if you're interviewing for a director or above or a manager or above, collaboration is important, but it's kind of expected, right? it diminishes collaboration. When I hear that, I'm like, I'm thinking of you as a specialist or a coordinator. That's not a $150,000 word. Talk about how I aligned cross-functional teams too. You see the difference there? We followed the process. That signals to me that what did you do to check to question the process? I chose to deviate from that process because let me give you an example. Sonora Quest, our we did a Six Sigma process. We improved the process by 33%. We had stakeholders involved from all different levels of healthcare. And when I'm answering what is one of my selected accomplishments, I partnered with leaders across the organization to increase the recruitment process and to improve it by 33% by listening, mapping, etc. And for that, my team and I actually got the CEO Team of the Year award because of the dollars we saved on labor, the dollars that we saved, the hiring leader satisfaction. And that's one of my greatest accomplishments. The difference is the impact that you're having. Is this starting to make sense to everyone? Okay, let's go to the next one. Under activity, I worked on multiple initiatives. I know many of you have done multiple projects. You worked on, internationally in Australia or in Dubai or in Johannesburg. What did you do that? Let me give you an example. 2 years ago, I was hired by Engel Gold Ashanti, and I led international mobility and movement for 90 moves over 6 months. I hired 4 roles, and I saved the company $250,000 because they didn't have to give it to Korn Ferry or Spencer Ogden. Impact. Okay, how are we doing on time? All right, I want to provide you with here are some questions that I would love for you to take a screenshot of that I ask a lot. Tell me about a time that you drove a business impact. How did you improve revenue? How did you have cost savings or cost avoidance? How do you define and measure success for your team? Now, what we're looking for on this answer is I use KPIs. Here's how I measure. Here's what I evaluate my team on. Here, I meet with them monthly. We talk about what their needs are. I put them in front of stretch assignments. I had more people promoted at Lockheed Martin than any other HR leader in the company because I'm always meeting with people. I know what they're looking for. I took my financial leadership. I took a 23-year-old in a finance development to present to the CEO on something I'm not great at. I wanted him to have that exposure. And because of that exposure, the CFO kept him in mind for the next rotation. These are all true stories, right? Which question here do you think that you would struggle the most to answer? Does anybody want to come off a mute and have some dialogue? Regina and Chris, I can't see you. Marissa, Tracy, anyone? That's okay. We're getting something in the chat.
Happy to talk to this.
Lisa, thank you for that. Is the verbiage specific to the summary section or the bullet points? Jean, wait, super helpful. Thank you, Brenda. Is verbiage specific to the summary section? In your resume, you should have your top accomplishments in a format that shows results. And Lisa can provide more insight on that if you want to meet with her separately. You have to show your all of your accomplishments. The summary section should be that snapshot of who you are as a leader. You can add some of the metrics there. Yes. That's more of you are a top within, John, you and I talked yesterday, finance, transportation, and healthcare, or healthcare first, food, beverage, etc. Okay. Adrian, were you going to say something?
I think it was Corey. Did
Oh,
you?
Corey, thank you.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. I was just going to speak to the first bullet point of demonstrating business impact, specifically with revenue or cost savings and growth. In the seat I currently sit in, I don't always have line of sight to that information, which is very
Mhm.
challenging. So I can make an assumption, but I want to be factual.
That's such a great comment. This happens a lot. And now that you all are job seeking, know that keeping track of metrics, what you did, is super, super important. So, Corey, you're not wrong at all, but showing some of that impact is still important. That, you know what, in this project, I helped the company save X percentage, or I decreased workload, or I made efficiencies, etc. Would be where I would want to see um, how you drove measurable impact. I can say 33%, like we moved the hiring from 48 days to 33, that percentage, and keeping track of those. In the world of AI, you can also look to what's the average best in class that would have been saved in efficiencies. Don't make it up and just say, you know what, that was hard to get and to measure, but I do know that our NPS scores went up. Our customer satisfaction scores went up. The customer success leader commented and gave me recognition, or my project saved the business X number of dollars. Is that helpful, Corey?
Yeah, that
Okay, perfect. All right, the next grouping here is walk me through feedback that you've received from senior leadership about your readiness for your next role. So, a lot of times, if I'm interviewing someone for a promotion, I'm going to say, you know, if I were to talk to your manager or your leader, what would they tell me about your readiness for this position? And so, having an answer to that, they would tell you that I am great at building impact and having creating value. And an example of that would be, tell me about a time that they challenged your readiness. What was the feedback that you got? What was some of the insight that you learned from? I can give you an example. In 2008, I was the head of talent for university talent at Honeywell. I moved into from all engineering to healthcare, about 75% men to 85% women. I am very results driven. Some of the feedback I got my first year was that I was not team oriented. And so I took that really seriously and I got leadership development. And the next year in 2009, I got a 4 on team and team alignment and collaboration. And I got kudos from so many leaders that said that I listened better, that I involved them. So something like that, that shows, you know what, we've all failed. Describe how your current boss has evaluated your ability to operate at that next level. This is more of a succession plan question. Do you know where you land in succession planning? Do you know what they're talking about you at talent reviews? And this comes in, especially when you are um, working. I'm working with several people, one at Kodak, one at Ball Aerospace. He's like a technical unicorn. He now knows exactly what they're saying. Um, about him. So, what kind of comments do you have on these questions? What blind spots or things that are coming up for you here?
So this question, are those for, should we anticipate this from the hiring manager or from HR? Because I mean, looking at this, sometimes it seems to me that I will hear this from more of HR than hiring manager, at least from what I do. So I
Mhm.
was a bit curious. How do you prepare
That's
for
a great
different
question.
audience?
Yeah, this might be a question that I would ask in preparation because I am thinking about talent review. So you're spot on with that. Or a leader who wants to know what kind of feedback and leadership development that you've had might ask this in as they're getting to know you more, in not the first or second round, but maybe like a third round of, I'd love to hear how you've been evaluated by your past boss and how you operate at this level. That's building confidence in impact, in decision making, and also that narrative of how you answer this question at that level. So it really can happen at any point. That's why I'm giving you these questions because I want you to be able to prepare with your accountability partners or practicing in whatever communities you're part of. We're getting to the 15 points, so I want to be able to open this for momentarily. This is strategic thinking. Tell me about how your strategic thinking, not your strategic operations or execution, but thinking, move the business forward in a meaningful way. Tell me about a strategy that you developed that led to measurable business results. How did you identify opportunities that others did not see? This is about you seeing patterns. Um, This is about you looking. I can give you an example of that. I was working for Honeywell and I saw an article in Latino Aerospace magazine about jet engines. And I took it to the head of the leader of HR, and he's like, this is unbelievable that you noticed this. We're going to talk to our BD group about this. So I got kudos because I was reading something and I saw a pattern or a potential sale. What examples are you bringing? Right? Walk me through a long-term decision that you made that significantly impacted. These are not easy questions because at the level that you're operating at, that you're strategically speaking at, that's where the most competition is coming from. We've also made a change in some of our coaching that we are really focusing on up leveling because so many of my clients have either been up leveled or advancing, or so that's why we're bringing this to you at a higher level. A time you shifted a strategy mid course. How many of you have done that? Right? We're all human. We've all done that. Even this morning, I was adding a slide to this presentation. So how are we doing? Are we helping you get the answers that you came with? I'm going to go in the chat. I'm contracting right now, so I need okay, no problem. Corey, lovely to see you. Always love your energy. Um, awesome. Thank you, Brenda. It's really helpful. Okay. This is let me continue. So first of all, we have to identify your gaps. You have to write out how you're signaling. And this is probably the most important work that we do. And then you have to start deploying consistently. This brand MRI, we can offer that as well to help you understand this is how you're signaling to the market. This is what your brand on LinkedIn is saying. Here's how you're leaking trust, etc. So I'm going to stop the share. And this is a lot of information. And so I'd love to hear from anyone on the call who might need some coaching on. The first question would be, where are you leaking? I'll see you soon, Brenda. Thank you. Where are you leaking confidence in your interviews? If some of you could come on the camera, that would be helpful as well. Because this is part of the community. I'd love to get some banter and conversations going like this. Where are you leaking confidence in your interviews?
I'll go. I'll go.
Who's that?
Lori.
Lori. Perfect. Thank you. Hi, Lori.
Hi. I recently had an interview where the job completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was not prepared for that.
Hmm.
Um, so I pivoted as best I could, and saying, no, I've had experience in this, but in areas where I haven't had experience, here's how I would handle it. This has been something that's been adjacent to that.
Hmm.
Um,
Good.
and they didn't move forward, which was fine. I don't think I would have moved forward with them, considering that there was such a felt a little bait and switch to me.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And you had a really interesting slide about how have your managers um, asked you about leveling up and so forth. I've never had a manager who's had enough time to talk to me about those things. They're always too busy. They just don't have time to talk about that. That's not a consideration.
Hmm.
So I just frame it as if it happened and answer it that way.
You haven't had a manager who coached you either.
No, never.
Okay. All right. There's a group here in town called the Rocky Mountain People and Strategy. It's the top HR people in all of Colorado. You have to have 10 years or experience more to even get in. I'm on a group and we are building career development. I am shocked by how many managers don't take the time to do that. And so I'm here to apologize for all those managers that don't have the time to do it. But if you think about all the things that managers have had to do, especially after COVID, um, I can't erase that. But what I can do is say, I don't think it was your fault at all that that company changed the job on you and didn't communicate that early. And so it sounds like there would be some mental anguish about the job was this, it switched to this. So let me pause and take a moment to talk about this. And of course, you couldn't prepare on that. That is not your fault at all. It sounded like you did a nice job with showing adjacency, but that lack of lack of clear communication, that was not good candidate care on their part. So, Lori, I just want to allow you to let that energy go. And it sounds like you did everything right. How many of you have been in that situation where they switched it on you or they're adding things? Or I have a client right now. She's the head of, she's high level with an ad tech firm. There's a startup that's very interested in her to be the chief product officer, and they've strung her along since October. The job keeps changing. We're interested in this. And she just got an offer yesterday from a healthcare company that she's really interested in. And my point here is the CEO of that startup company, he's like, I want a technical product manager. No, I want a product manager. No, you have to have this. That's going to happen, especially with companies that are not as, they're still scrappy. They're still figuring out what they want. Um, in fact, I'm about to start working with a pre-seed company, and I was talking with the entire founder team yesterday, and I'm like, how are you going to prioritize these? And they all had different answers. And I said, no, before we jump out to market, we're going to be very clear on all of these things. So, Laura, I just wanted to tell you that that does happen. It sounds like you handled it beautifully. Who else has a scenario that they want to talk about? Jean, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on what Laurie said because sometimes it happens that the job advertised is not what the hiring manager has in mind.
Mhm.
Meaning that there was no clear, collaboration, at least thinking before the job was advertised. They just say so and so left, they will be doing the same thing, and then you find yourself informed the hiring manager what they are telling you is not what the job advertised in the job. And the other piece I wanted to bring on just because of my career trajectory is that like
Yeah.
when I'm talking with people in the banking industry, they seems to be very keen on, oh, you don't have 15-year banking experience. I'm like, I've done things much more complex, and I could bring a fresh eye because I'm not so, embedded into just this way of thinking. But some people, I found that, I never got offered because some people seem to be very attached to the number of years you have spent in one particular vertical. But the way I organized my career, I never wanted to be a grandfather in any vertical.
A gunfighter in any vertical.
No, no,
That sounds
a
like,
grandfather into any vertical.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have the opportunity to be a generalist, but in this market, the more specific that you can be, which is why yesterday John and I were talking, and he had 5 different resumes. I'm like, pick 2 channels that you have a go-to-market strategy on. And as far as unclear, this is such a hard part that as a recruiter, like, what's the intake? As I was talking to these founders yesterday, I'm like, here's the process. I'm going to take 72 hours to make sure that we are signaling what we're signaling to the market is right. But then you have baby recruiters, I call them, that are just cut, paste, AI it, let ChatGPT do it. And then let me just check a box. And so if any of you have great recruiters that you've worked with, that's the know, trust, and like. You don't have to know every single recruiter, but the ones that make impact in your field, that's who you want to have that know, trust, and like relationship with, right? I see a couple of you shaking your heads um, on this. So frustrating. And I think that's why recruitment right now is getting like we're ghosting people and this isn't happening and you're not hearing back or what they're telling me they want is different than the hiring manager. And if that happens, I just want to invite you all to do a thank you letter after that first interview and during thank you letters to everyone, to the recruiter. Hey, I'm really so grateful that you chose me to speak with you. I noticed there were some changes, and here's how I will meet those changes. Results first, using some of the topics that we talked about today. If you hear that with the hiring manager, hey, I just wanted to thank you for your time and attention to this. I noticed that there were some changes, and I just want to make sure I'm on the same page with where your vision of this is going. Here's what I heard you talk about, and here's how I can bring value. It's not shaming anyone. Your job description is wrong. This is wrong. It's about, I noticed this. I hope I pivoted in the correct way. I know I can be a plug and play. I know that I can, and you can quote this, I can provide immediate value to your organization and team. Okay. I can create value, and I feel personally this is the right fit because I align with your values of, and I have personally lived these by. Okay. This is not about you, it's about how you become psychologically relevant to that leader to solve their problems. All right. And I hope that I've given in the past hour some snapshots of that. I'd like to just open it up and invite you to I just decided this morning, that's a pivot that I made, um, that I want to do a group because our groups have been so successful. Um, And going back to being Mariano, I'm happy to be Mariano. I was actually talking with those founders yesterday about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and the team that it takes. I'd love to be part of your team to help you with those interviews, but not only that, to help you with your positive intelligence. There's a few people on this call who have gone through positive intelligence, and it has sincerely up leveled their psychological relevance on how they are showing up. If any of you want to make comments that have gone through that or are going through that, be my guest. So I'm offering for the next 48 hours to you join this group. We're going to do a market mirror of how you are showing up and leaking trust to the market. And we're going to build an action plan around that, how you change your LinkedIn, how you change your narrative. I'm going to offer 4 1-hour group sessions so that you're in these groups. And then 2 45-minute individual coaching sessions with me and an accountability partner. This group that Adrian was just part of, there were 6 people. 5 of them within 3 months got either more interviews or got offers. 5 people have now landed jobs out of that. One of them, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 of them were out of in the job market for over a year. It's how you change your confidence mentally, your voice of how you show up narratively and your stories. And so I just wanted to offer that to the group. We will be following up with information on this. And I guarantee that in 3 months that you will either get more interviews, be more happy with your stories, or I'll give you your money back. It's that simple. All right. So we're not here to talk about that. I hope that all of you got something that you can use. How many of you feel that you have a couple of nuggets and takeaways that you can immediately implement? 1, 2. Okay. All right. Thank you for spending time with us. We really appreciate your effort. You are not alone out there. I'm opening up some schedule on Thursday and Friday to chat and just get with a community, you guys. Being out there is really lonely. And best of luck to all of you. I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Christiane. It's nice to see you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.